Good morning, and today's going to be Pocket Kings. In this hand, we are 7-handed, 10 NL game. We have 100 big stack or 100 big blinds, and early position with now 32 big blinds. Open raises to 3 big blinds, folds to me. I 3-bet. So this player's playing 23-15. We've got some notes on him. 3-bet range, ace queen off. We've got 87 hands on him, or at least in this set, and right now his VPIP is 13%, 2 out of 16 in early position with a pre-flop raise of 1 out of 14, and that meant he called a pre-flop raise in early position 1 out of 2 times that he was faced it. So I think this guy's going to be fairly tight, something like this. He's under the gun, so I'm not going to give him some like the weak pairs, 2s, 3s, 4s. Probably not like king 10 suited, queen 10 suited. I mean, he could, but this is about almost 10%, 9.5%. For an under the gun position, probably about right. Some other things, if we look at his stats, he's played a little bit wider on the button. Mid position, 35%, 9 out of 26, and that could be just run of cards. I think my stats look a little bit like that. You have more cards here, more opportunity to play. Also, I think mid position you tend to be a little bit more aggressive, or at least I seem to be, because I'd rather just raise in those instead of raising that spot and get position than just calling. Whereas I could easily just call on the button with more hands, because I'll be in ultimate position. So I think we can probably go something like this. My 3-bet range. So 3-bet is this, 3-bet or call is this. I'm going to say against a player like this, not really sure where we're at. We're in the cutoff. I think I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet this just to challenge him, see what's going to happen, what he does, how he responds to a 3-bet. He does 3-bet 3% of the time, 1 out of 32, and then fold to 3-bet is 33%. So we'll see. Keep it a little bit looser. In this hand, the button folds, and then the small blind calls, and our big blind or our under the gun player folds. So for this player, we have 1 hand on him. That's it. We've got some notes, and I don't want to look at those because I'm sure this hand's on there where he calls a 3-bet from big blind. But right now we have 1 hand. That's it. So what does typical players do? For players, I think I'm going to give them all the pocket pairs. I think that's pretty standard, or pretty typical of a lot of players. I'm going to give them suited broadways. Not all of them. Just going to say ace jack, king jack, queen jack, and even these, I just don't know. I'm going to throw them in there. I think they're less likely. Ace jack, I will keep ace jack suited, ace queen suited, king queen suited, and then I'm gonna have kings and ace king. So I have 50% for kings because I think some players, when they're faced with a 3-bet, they don't want to go ahead and 4-bet with kings. They'll rather just call. And same thing with ace king. They'd rather just call in the spot and see if they catch or improve. So I'm gonna go with that. That's his range. We're gonna fold this player out because he's out, and we see a flop of 3-5-6. So villain is going to connect with his small pocket pairs, but so he's got those. We don't really have much because we raise an early position player. Don't really have Yeah, we don't really have any bluffs going here, like ace 4, ace 3. So villain checks, and I kind of expect that from him. I kind of expect it for this villain, and then the question is, what do we do? And you can see my hand breakdown. I have a lot of overpairs that I think we would bet for value, and then we have some bluffs. So if we do just bet all of our range, we have a pretty good breakdown. There's less bluffs than we have value, but I think we're getting some of our bluffs from like 8s, 9s, and 10s. We're trying to buy equity, but I think this is a hand where we would be c-betting 100% of our range. Villain calls, and that could, I mean, maybe it means something, maybe it doesn't. So what does he call with? Set possibly just calls here. I think it overpair calls. I think pocket pair less than the second card calls. That gives him an open-ended straight. So I think that's calling. A 2 maybe calls. I do see some players will call that, hoping to catch that gut shot and be surprised. That's probably less likely. We get set it at 50%. Overcards. Would he call with all of those? Some players will. And I think what we'll do is we'll set this at 50%. We don't know this player. Some players will call with these because this board's fairly dry. Others won't. So like they'll call with ace king. Let's do that. They'll call with ace king, but not with like king jack or queen jack. So ace king, ace queen, ace jack, maybe the king queen they'll call because those look good, look like quality cards. But then other times they don't. So I think we're gonna go with that range. Still, he's gonna be ahead of us because he has the possibility of hitting trips. So queen of hearts comes and villain checks. Okay, I don't expect him to bet. That looks like a decent card for us. A decent card in that we now, like, our ace queen connects, our king queen connects, but so does villain, and we've got kings. And you know, if we bet, what are we going for? What are we hoping to see? I guess if we bet, we're kind of expecting sets to call. We're kind of expecting overpair. We're expecting the top pair to call. At this point, I kind of think maybe these pocket pairs are going to be folding. So we'll say like 50%. 50% folds. I expect all these weak pairs to fold with the exception of the open-ended straight draw. And I think the flush draw now calls. So I expect 65%, which means he's folding 35% of the time, which we could bet maybe quarter of the pot. Half pot, we're betting half pot. We're risking half pot to win pot. So we're giving ourselves, what, 33%. Villain needs to fold 25%. He needs to fold 33% for us to win, and it's just barely profitable. So I actually bet I'd size it up to 31. Not sure if I like that or not, because I don't think he has a whole lot of these top pair hands. If we read him correctly as him calling with like ace king, ace queen, king queen, then it's about a quarter of the hands. He's still calling with half pot. He's still going to call half pot. And if we do half pot, let's see this. We bet 24. If we bet 24, that brings us down to 56. And that sets us up for an easy, almost half pot bet. A little more than a half pot bet on the river. So I think that's a little bit better than going larger to 31.6, because now if he just calls, we're looking at less than a half pot bet, and it's going to be a fairly easy call for him. So I kind of think maybe we should have gone sized it smaller. What am I betting here? I'm obviously betting the sets. I'm obviously betting overpair. I'm going to be betting the top pair, and I'm going to probably be betting those pocket pair less than the top card. Flush card has some potential. Do we want to give up our flush draw, bet, and then get raised and have to fold? Ooh, I think that could be used as part of our bluffing range here. If he folds, great. If he calls, we still have outs. If he raises, we kind of give up some of the equity. Actually, if he raises, we're probably just looking at what the pot odds are going to be. So something like that is probably going to be our range. No made hand, we could probably even include that. Where is the rest? You know, all of these other just overcards. Could include those as bluffs as well, since the queen should help our range. I mean, we could fold out 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s probably at this point. Now he just shoves, and that's what we're at. So we need 23% equity. So first off, what is he shoving with? I think he shoves with sets, maybe the overpair. I don't think he does it with the overpair top pair actually. It's unusual. I don't think he does it with any of the flush draws. So I think we're looking at the sets and possibly the overpair. We're going to put that at 35% for the overpair and 35% for these top pairs. We want those. We want a possibility. I could do a third. That's even better. Small possibility that they're going to do that, but mostly this is going to be a set. So if he has a set, then it looks like, you know, what's our flush draw look like versus that set? We obviously would need to connect with it to improve. Flush is about 4-1. Need about 20% equity. It's a tough fold, but I think mathematically it's probably the correct fold here with our flush draws. You know, it's slightly negative EV. Slightly negative EV, and we don't really have anything else with our flush draws. So if we had, you know, if we had like ace 5, where we might be able to improve with I guess if we're up against a set, we have to improve to the flush. Maybe if we had ace 4 of hearts and we could improve to the straight, then maybe that becomes more of a straight or more of a call, because we have multiple ways to win other than the flush draw. But here we're not getting the odds. We should just be folding flush draw. I think this should be an easy fold for top pair. I actually think it sucks folding the overpair, but I think villain's representing a straight, or I'm sorry, is representing a I think he's representing trips. So even though with the top pair he's demonstrating he could beat us, would he? And that's the question: would he do this with ace queen or king queen? At 10-0, I don't think there's enough players who do this. This should help our range a lot. So the question is, why would he check raise when the queen comes on a card that should help our range? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I think he's got a set here. I think for us, if we had a set, we're calling with queens, no problem. What I did is I called with kings. 4 comes out, and we ran it twice, basically. So he showed trip 5s, no big surprise. So I think I did have some notes on here. So let's check out the notes that I took at the time of the game. So I almost checked turn. Why would this call? He called 3-bet, which suggests speculative hand. I thought most likely a pair. I think he calls with overs. His check raise on turn suggests trips. Ace queen. Why call flop? While possible, I don't think most players c-bet. Call a c-bet with these hands. So yeah, I kind of had it on. This was a screw up. I don't know why I called it. So gonna knew I lost this one, but just kind of reiterate that I don't think most players are going to be check raising with a queen. Just doesn't make sense. Not on a card that should help my range. All right, hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you do, look tomorrow for another.